is about to ring. I'll ask you one last question. You don't like Bitcoin? You wouldn't invest in Bitcoin? Do you invest in the stock market at this moment?
So not at this moment. I think it's high. So I have not invested in the stock market at this moment. I have in the past, but I have not at this moment. I think it's high. Okay. Bitcoin, it just seems like a scam. I was surprised. With us, it was at 6,000 and much lower. I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar. Essentially, it's a currency competing against the dollar. I want the dollar to be the currency of the world. That's what I've always said.
Well, hello guys, David Vos here. Well, guess what? It's a beautiful day in Oklahoma. It's stopped raining, and there is a few patches of blue sky here and there, and the sun's come out. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, did you hear that? President Donald Trump has said, and I don't know why I missed this, but I guess he's been saying this. And this is something we need to sort of take a look at, because it might give us a little bit of an idea about what's happening, who's on whose side, and who's fighting who, and who's, in charge, and what are these two sides in the world fighting about. Donald Trump says he's against cryptocurrency. He doesn't like it. He says it's a scam. And he says his goal is for the dollar to remain the world currency. So then you stop and you think, well, remember what we were saying the other day? That just before, well, I guess it was not just before, but during Trump's presidency, he signed an executive order creating the quantum financial system. And all of these things that we're talking about are so complicated and so, it's so new. I mean, we have very little time to contemplate all these things. I'm thinking about scriptures and, the pandemic, and then we're thinking about, storing food and making sure we get to work and clean the house, and we have lots of thoughts and lots of things to think about. And it's really hard to keep up with all the little new things, and things are coming up that are new. About every 5 minutes, we got to think, this is going to revolutionize the world. Oh, wait a minute, there's something else coming along, and it's going to revolutionize the world faster now. It's like we're going to ditch that, and we're going to go to this. So something's going to happen. They've been talking about a reset. What does this quantum financial system have to do with the cryptocurrency? They're both simultaneously being talked about. Are they the same thing? Because I think a lot of people really don't have a clue. I personally didn't quite understand this. Today I did a little research on this because I was under the impression, I think a lot of people was, whatever the correct word there would be, but I thought that the quantum financial system was really going to be cryptocurrency. See, it's very, very hard to grasp because nobody really explains anything very well. I mean, same thing if you go to some scholarly work and try to understand the Bible. You're like, what? Now I understand less about it after having read this scholarly work. You've really confused me now. So, and then I really think that a lot of people think they're experts in talking about and trying to explain it to people either are talking about something they heard 5 years ago that's no longer true, or they never understood it in the first place and they're just pretending that they do, or whatever. And I think we're all guilty of some of that. We don't really know what's going on. But, and I don't pretend to know what's going on either. I've done some videos about how we ought to run out and buy XRP. I started with that. Well, I mean, way before that, we were talking about the reset, and we were talking about the banks can't go very much longer, and things are going to have to start, the Social Security is going to go broke, and they're going to have to do something. And I don't think people at that point was really even talking about crypto, although Bitcoin started some time ago. But at first, nobody really, paid any attention. Then all of a sudden, people were making a lot of money, and now people are paying attention. But all this time, people like Warren Buffett and these guys were saying, hey, this is a scam. Don't get involved in that. And I'm not putting any of my money in there. Of course, we find out later that their companies that they own 51% of the shares were doing it. And now we're seeing they're definitely using cryptocurrency as a way to take people's money, even though people are making a lot of money on paper. They got it all in the bank there. Wow, look at this. I've got millions of dollars. But they're not using it. They're hanging on to it because it's going to be millions more soon, right? Well, meanwhile, the next day it goes down and they lose half of it. And they're like, well, just hold it and we'll get more next year. That might be. And I'm not cutting it down. And I've been saying buy, buy, buy. I'm not saying sell, sell, sell. We're talking about this. That's all I'm doing is we're just discussing this. But there are forces out there that don't like cryptocurrency. Warren Buffett said he didn't like it. I don't know if he really does or doesn't. Perhaps he did buy some because he felt like he had to, but he doesn't really like it. Evidently, Trump doesn't like it. And we're going to get to this questions as to whether it has to be, are we going to go to the quantum physics, financial system? And does that have anything to do with crypto? We'll get to all that. But, so we don't know. Well, it's okay. First of all, we've got, I think, 3 things that we've been talking about. Like I said, the XRP, some are speculating, and there's good reason to believe that it could be used, if not, might possibly, somebody's trying to use it as a bridge. Others have talked about it. It was prophesied on The Simpsons, that it would go up to $486 per coin. And right now it's only like $1, right? So that'll be quite an interesting thing if it does go up to $500, $587 each. That was on The Simpsons. And The Simpsons are always predicting everything. They predicted that President Trump would become president. They've predicted that Harris would become president, and we'll wait to see if that happens. And a lot of different things. Evidently, they predicted 9/11 and who knows, a lot of other things supposedly that they predicted. But so there's a good, if you believe, you can find reasons to hope or believe in something or think it's going to happen. But regardless of that, XRP could still go very high, even if it's not what they're going to use as a bridge. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, that means that right now, or for the last, since the 70s, we've had this thing called SWIFT. There's another acronym that we can't, it's like, what? Okay, that was a system that we used, that the banks used to borrow and sell and, and charge you interest. And it's the way that they, it was a dollar system. And all around the world, everybody had to use this system to buy and sell. It's called the dollar system. Well, that system wasn't really great for us because we had to it was really slow, you can make a transfer of your money, take several days and all this stuff. And plus there's a lot of stuff. We're dealing with old computer systems. The IP addresses, the IP4s, they're out of them. There's a lot of things we could talk about. This whole system's got to change because it's just outdated. Now we're trying to buy and sell at speeds that it crashes the system. And the dollar has too much debt. In order to keep the system we have, the dollar system, you can't because everybody owes a bunch of money. Now, when they go to the Great Reset, they're saying that all debts will be forgiven. Now, this is what people are talking about with the Jessera and the Nasera. They're saying that all the debts will be kind of like the biblical Jubilee. Everybody's debts will be forgiven. So that looks like that might actually happen, guys. And so, by the way, it might be a good time to run out and buy you a house or a car. I don't know. I'm not advocating it. But if what they're saying is true, then a year from now, this reset happens and you don't have to pay it off, I guess. Or, run up a credit card and they'll forgive your debt. Although I did hear that somebody was saying that if you did it on purpose, or they know how, or if somehow they could find out that you did it just for that reason, that you would still have to owe it. I don't know. And I don't know how you would owe money. Like you make a contract and it says in the contract, you owe $50,000. All right. Now, if the dollar system goes away and there are no such thing as dollars, how do you have to fulfill that contract? Because the contract says, you owe me $50,000, but there are no more dollars. We go to some other cryptocurrency or digital currency. So now I've paid off $25,000, but I haven't paid off. There's another $25,000 I haven't paid off yet. All right. So now what happens? If there's no more dollars, I can't fulfill the contract. So does it go back to the person who made the you bought it from? Well, no, that wouldn't be fair because you've already given them $25,000. You would fulfill the contract, but you're not able to do it through no fault of your own. Well, it's not fair for them or you, but it is fair if everybody across the board has their debts forgiven. Then, wherever you are living, if you bought that house or you bought that car, then you don't have to pay it off. You say, well, that's not fair to the person who sold it to you. But you see, it is fair because they also have their debts removed. So the car lot, he went out, he's got loan from the bank to buy all these cars, and he sells them all on credit. Well, he doesn't have to pay off those cars either. And so his business, he's doesn't have to owe anything. So you don't owe anything and nobody owes anything. And then, yeah, there's going to be some people that are going to get a better deal than others. Some people who don't owe anything aren't going to get much out of the deal. So if you're living in an apartment in the Bronx, or whatever, and you're paying $300 a month and you have nothing in the bank and you don't own a car and you don't own property and you owe nobody anything, then when this reset happens, you'll still owe nobody nothing, but you won't have gotten away with anything. So I'm just saying that's just one of those little things. But everybody, so from what I could tell, when the reset happens, whatever you're purchasing, you'll get to keep it and you won't have to pay it off. Because you can't change the contract and that was, okay, now instead of I owe you $25,000, I guess it'll be 25,000 Bitcoin. Can't, because there's no way to compare the value of that against that. And besides, the other guy has his debts. The guy that's selling you the car or the house, they had their debts removed as well. Now, I don't know what happens if you own a bunch of properties and you don't live on the other properties. And you're buying property all over the country. I imagine they'll honor that too, and you'll get to keep it all. Because, hey, most of the people that own properties all over the country and haven't paid for it all are billionaires anyway. So I imagine for their sake, they would honor that for everyone. And that means if you own several properties, you might get to keep them all if you don't have to pay any of it. I don't know. This is just a rambling idiot somewhere in Oklahoma talking. But I'm just trying to figure this out. Anyway, that's that part of it. So when we go to the reset, what's going to happen? Well, we forgive all debts. We're going to have to go to another system. Why? Because if you're going to go from the dollars to some other system, whatever system they go to, then the reason they're doing it primarily is because of all the debt. That's why they're having to go to another system. Everything has to be forgiven and start over again. That's one of the biggest, or if not the biggest reason. They might tell you there's other reasons, like, they're trying to crack down on terrorists, right? Because they're spending money, and right now the dollar bill is not, there's no way to track the money and all. They talk about little side effects like that. But that can't be the real reason. I'm sure they'll find a way to commit crimes no matter what they do. But the real reason is the fact that we have too much debt and the system is collapsing. You see? And partly because somebody created the Bitcoin. And now money is being transferred. And as the money is being transferred out of the system, and we're not spending it and everything, it's being transferred somewhere else. And so, because the dollar is they print new dollars all the time to keep up with the inflation. Well, the money is worth more and more and more and more and more in the cryptocurrency, and less and less and less and less in the dollar system. So something's got to give. And that's the real reason why there has to be a reset, because the debt is too high. And it's obvious that they know that, and that's what they're going to do, simply because if you look at this push to just give everybody a bunch of money, $1,000 check here, $1,000 check there, or $1,200 or $1,400 or whatever they're giving us, $2,000 or whatever that they gave us last time, a $600 plus a $1,400. And they've done that three times. And they're talking about $1,000 a month and all of this kind of thing. And they're giving all these loans to businesses. And we passed this, I don't know how many $1 trillion, I forget, loan that isn't helping humans, right? It's for the COVID relief. But they're sending it all around the world, and the billionaires are putting it in their pocket. What are they doing with it? Well, they're transferring it to Bitcoin, probably. But so I think that's one of the reasons they made Bitcoin, is a way to transfer wealth and money to the new system, because they haven't made the new system yet. And I don't know it's going to be Bitcoin, guys. This is what we're going to talk about here, because a lot of people don't even want Bitcoin. And people like Warren Buffett has been saying, oh, well, it's a scam. It's going to just disappear one day. Well, do they know something we don't? And this thing with Elon, he just made one called Dogecoin, and it's doing great. But then it seemed like it was started as a joke, and now it seems like he's using it as a pawn to drain people's Bitcoin, right? Because it's like, oh, the richest man in the world's got a Dogecoin now, and he's going to use it so you can buy his cars, his Tesla. But he's not going to accept Bitcoin now. And so he makes a little tweet like that, and phew, the market crashes. Today, when I think it was Monday, when Trump made this comment about he didn't like crypto, Bitcoin plunged. It's at the lowest point it's been in a long time. So between Elon Musk's tweets and Donald Trump's tweets, they might just crash the Bitcoin. Although, of course, they can't do it if it's not meant to not crash. Maybe they're only just trying to get it lower so they can get in on it, and then when it goes back up, they make billions more. Well, all of that's just speculation. It's just like I always say, people who go on and think they're going to make a bunch of money in crypto by looking at a chart, it's an illusion what it really is, because you say, well, let's see here. In the past, it went up here and it went down over there, and then it went back up here, and after about a week, it went down, and about a week, it went up, and so we have calculus here, and we're going to figure out what it's going to do next. Baloney. It's like I was telling somebody today. They said, well, if the money goes way up, let's say I'm looking at my chart, and it just went up double, shouldn't I sell it and get my money out? And I'm like, no, because you might make double your money. No question about that. You may double your money. Pull it out. But was that a good idea? Because usually when it's going up, the next day it goes up another double. Like this just keeps going. I remember Bitcoin started at pennies, and then it went to $65,000 per coin. So let's say that Bitcoin was 50 cents. The next day it went to $1 and you pulled it out. Well, the next day it went to $2. Now you'll never get back in at $1. So now to get back in, it's going to be $3. You lost money. So it's a crapshoot. You can't pull out and watch charts and hope you're going to make something. The only way you can every time make money is with facts. Now, if the facts are that cryptocurrency is here to stay, then and you know by virtue of the reality that it is down at a dip, at a low point now, regardless of whether it's going to go even lower tomorrow, it doesn't matter. We know it's low today. You get in now, may go down over the next week a little bit more, may go down half. That don't matter. You haven't lost half of your money if it does, because you got in at a certain price that was 10 times below what it was supposed to be in the first place. So it'll go right back up where it was when you bought it, but then it'll go back up 10 more times because it's on a trajectory going all the way to the very, very top, which nobody knows where that is, because all the money of the dollars is going to have to get transferred to the crypto. So the only way to know for sure whether or not you're going to make money is to know, one, that the crypto is going to not be taken away for a better system. And if it is, hope that if it's something that may happen in 10 years, that's fine. We ain't worried about that. But if right now this is what the system is going to, if it's been working for the last 2, 5, 10 years, it's going to continue to go up. And you know that it's at a low point now, then you know that it's going to go up. And therefore put your money in when it's low at a dip, and don't pull it out and put it back in and pull it out every time it goes up or down and try to read the charts. So there's how you do that if you want to make money. It's low right now. It's the lowest it's ever been. I just looked at Bitcoin. It's 33,000. And remember, it was up to 65,000. So it's way down below half. And I think Ethereum's down to 2,500, and it was at 4,800 just the other day. So when it goes back up to 4,800, you've doubled your money. And it's still, remember, that's not how much you've made. That's just how much you've made in a few weeks. And it's still going. So you're going to make more. And if it's like Bitcoin, eventually Ethereum is going to be not 4,800, but 10,000, 20,000. It's going to continue to go because we're not done with this. Okay, so that sounds great. But here's the question. People are saying that this quantum financial system is going to replace cryptocurrency in 10 years. And it may, because of that, they may even have this thing, because they're planning on that. Remember, there's this, the SEC is fighting Bitcoin. They're fighting it right now. It's really hard to understand. Like when Trump was in office, he didn't like cryptocurrency, but all of his policies helped cryptocurrency. And the people that he put into office that was supposed to regulate all of that, and the SEC and stuff like that, they were for cryptocurrency. And now with Biden, we don't know what's going on. So he's put somebody in there that seems to be against it, but it's crazy. We don't. So a lot of you probably thinking, well, then look, I'm just getting out because this is crazy. No, look, you got to think about this, because the dollar bill is going away. Period. The dollar bill is going away. Period. And cryptocurrency, or some kind of digital currency, is definitely going to happen. But I think it's important to understand, because when I saw that Trump was against crypto, and then I remembered that it was Trump that put the quantum financial system into place, I thought, wait a minute, I thought they were one and the same. Well, they're not. And so there are those out there that only get half of the picture or part of the puzzle, and then they go with it and they don't know that there's more to it. So, and then there's the ICP that we talked about the other day, but let's talk about something else first. So there are a lot of people that say that if the banks were to get bailed out so that they can continue with their services, and some people think they have to continue. Number one, for America to be dominant, they might have to continue. Like we were using the dollar, well, we have to continue using the dollar, but under some other reset or some other way. I don't know how that would work, but we don't know what they got up their sleeve. But Trump is trying to preserve the superiority of the system that we have. So they created this system called CIP, which is different than the SWIFT that we were talking about. But even though it's a different system, it's a quantum financial system, they still are going to have it backed by gold and other assets. However, Bitcoin's not backed by any asset. It's a different thing. And so if the quantum financial system goes through, then where will Bitcoin be? Well, it isn't going to be the digital currency that Trump wants there to be in place. It won't be the same system, but it doesn't mean that it won't be there. Maybe they'll battle it out, and some people will use both. And this is the idea that some had with this XRP. Because there's a few of these cryptocurrencies that start with an X, like XLM and XRP, and there's another X somewhere, I forget other one. But these were coded with this X, something about the central. It means the center. And it has to do with, it doesn't belong to any particular nation or country, because a lot of these cryptocurrencies were created for some particular thing or some company or some country, right? But this X thing, the XRP, is not for any country. It's a centralized bridge. But what is it a bridge for? It's a bridge so that the financial institution we call the bank here in America, the system, the Rockefeller Rothschild system, will continue. Maybe they'll have to forgive debt and start over and all of that. I don't know how that's going to work. They're still talking about a reset. But still, they will have, evidently, Trump's talking about the dollar somehow still remaining. I don't know how they're planning on doing it. But I can tell you that when they do their reset that they're thinking about doing, whoever these people are, the SEC, and I guess Trump's behind that, they will want Bitcoin to just go away, and one system that everybody in the world has to use. It'll be fast. It will be safe, evidently, although I don't trust that it won't be kind of like the government system that, you got to get the mark of the beast or whatever. I don't know. And it's going to be run by an artificial intelligence. That we know, the quantum financial system. But it will be backed on assets. And that's why I said, I don't think people understand. It's not just gold and silver assets. But it will, every transaction that we make when that takes over will have to have a GPS location. So that will be how it has like a stamp, like an identification that no one can ever change. And it's done in some sort of fashion, in a quantum fashion, in light waves or something, so that no one can hack it and no one can change it, and it can never be altered. Nobody can steal it. And that means that it might be good in a sense because, there cannot be terrorists and stuff like that. However, it still means that somebody retains control, like the government. And of course, they can put any restrictions they want to it. They've already admitted that they can just say, oh, if you're a terrorist and you're using the system, we've just confiscated your money. Now, when this system goes into place, will they just confiscate everybody's money that's into Bitcoin? Saying, oh, that's we take these companies to court like they're doing right now. The SEC is taking XRP to court and the library and some other things, because they're saying it's a securities and it's not currency, and they can't, and they got to pay money or fines or stop doing it altogether or whatever. They're suing them. So there's a big fight. There's two people in the world that are fighting, and they want control of the system. I think the financial quantum, the quantum financial system is definitely going to be the winner. And it's not for or pro crypto, but that's not for 10 years. So what's going to happen to crypto over the next 10 years? I don't know, because there has to be some way to transfer all that money. If it's going to be 10 years before we get there, something's got to be done. The dollar's already crashing. They may have a plan to use the Bitcoin as a way to get everybody's money into that and then over to there. And in the meantime, they can manipulate it when they've got crypto. They can go up and down. The rich people can afford to do that and send out little tweets and crash it, and we lose our money, and then they make money. And then when it goes over to the new system, they made all the money. I don't know. Obviously, some people are doing that, like Elon. Now, Trump's not doing it because he says he's not buying any, and I trust him. He says he's not buying any stocks either. He doesn't like it. Warren Buffett himself, personally, I guess, doesn't like it. Maybe he doesn't have any. Of course, his companies do. Elon Musk is now deciding that he don't like Bitcoin either. Because he's saying you're not going to use it in my company. We're not going to use it to buy and sell. Although there are literally companies like in, where was it, Africa, or is it in Brazil, or both, that are going to Bitcoin as the currency for their country right now. It's moving full steam ahead. And there's other companies that are making systems that are somehow going to integrate the the blockchain is what it is. It's something. The blockchain is going to be different than the quantum financial system. It doesn't use blockchain. So the blockchain is going to be something different. The cryptocurrency works on the blockchain. However, that's not universal, because then we got the ICP we'll talk about in a minute, which doesn't need the entire platforms that everybody else is using. And it's a much faster, split second, fast, amazing, and they're saying that their system's going to take over everything. So there's another system. And can that exist while cryptocurrency exists the way it does? Yes, they're right now, this ICP, are right now integrating their system with Ethereum. And Ethereum is actually going to be using ICP, which is a new internet computer. But all of them could work with the new financial quantum physics if these people wanted them to. But here's the problem. The people that are creating the quantum financial system, Trump and his buddies, don't like cryptocurrency, and they don't need it. Because they want to do is preserve the dollar with some other, I guess, digital dollar or something. Evidently. So, will Bitcoin just disappear because Trump doesn't like it? What if he's president in August, like we were talking about? If he becomes president and he makes an executive order that bans all cryptocurrency in the United States, it still doesn't get rid of cryptocurrency, because that doesn't mean they're not going to ban it in Africa, because they're already using it in other places around the world. China's already banned it. Now, it was very strange to me. All of this is very strange, because it looks like that cryptocurrency Bitcoin seems to be banned in China and Russia. How is it then that Trump is on their side about banning cryptocurrency? Well, I don't know if he's good. Trump's never tried to ban it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he has or he ever will. But here's the thing. For now, the quantum financial system has not happened. It cannot happen until the reset happens. Because the reset is that's going to be that Jacera Nacera thing. And when that happens, all debt is forgiven. You owe no money. Then you can make the reset. And they won't do it, evidently, until they've got the quantum financial system in place. And that will be their last move. And I guess they could do that at any time. But it doesn't just automatically get rid of all the Bitcoin. Because, like I said, the Bitcoin could still be used other places. A company could overrule it. Because let's say that a company the size of Tesla and, SpaceX of Elon's, or some other big company like Google, if they decided to use Bitcoin on their platform, or PayPal, what if the banks aren't even needed anymore and PayPal's already gone to Bitcoin? And so has, Mr. Dorsey, who runs the Twitter. He's got this thing like PayPal. It's called Cash App or something. What is it called? Anyway, he's using that too. And we've got these companies like Binance and Coinbase that are starting up, and it's kind of being used like a bank. They're adding features to their little companies all the time. And they don't even need the bank. So meanwhile, while one group is trying to institute this whole new quantum financial system, that doesn't mean China has to go by it. That doesn't mean that Google has to go by it. That doesn't mean that Elon has to go by it. So there is no certainty. And I think that's why Trump hasn't tried to get rid of it or ban it. For one thing, I don't think he would do that, because he knows a lot of his base are Bitcoin believers. So I don't know. I'm putting this out there because what I'm saying is that if the quantum financial system goes into place, and it will, it's going to take some time though, you could still have Bitcoin, because some are speculating that the banks in order to not be irrelevant, like they can go ahead with what they're doing, but they'll still be irrelevant if people decide to use PayPal or some other means or Coinbase or Bitcoin, and who cares about them? We don't need them anymore. They'll be irrelevant unless they can use, and right now the banks don't allow you to put Bitcoin in their store. You can't buy Bitcoin at Wells Fargo, right? But if they decided to go ahead and do that as well and have their own digital to compete with it, they might somehow could remain relative simply because they could say, well, now look, you can go ahead and do your Bitcoin and we'll allow these transactions and we'll even let you buy it. We'll be like another Coinbase at Wells Fargo or Chase Manhattan or something. And what would be the advantages? Well, because if they say you can't do it in our banks, then a lot of people would just say, fine, we don't want you no more. Goodbye, Wells Fargo. They're irrelevant. So if it gets to the place where there's so many people that got so many billions of dollars in Bitcoin and they don't want to lose their money, and they just say you're irrelevant, then in order not to be irrelevant, then the banks have to go ahead and start allowing their customers to use Bitcoin as well. And there could be two systems. And that can be one thing, and then the digital cryptos that they're not crypto, but they're very similar. It'd be digital currency. They just call it the dollar. But somehow or another, they could use that to lend money. And because how are you going to lend money using Bitcoin? The price is going up and down. There's no actual backing. It has no gold backing or any asset backing. So if the world's going to go on, people borrowing and lending money, then there has to probably still be the bank. So maybe you have to have both. But what could happen is if both could be around for a while, and one could simply end up outdoing the other. Let's say that Bitcoin starts off and nobody knows how to lend. Now there are companies that are coming out with a way that you can use Bitcoin to lend money. They got Bitcoin credit cards. So look, the two systems are fighting, and people like Trump and whoever's backing him, they don't like the cryptocurrency. They can, it looks like Elon don't like Bitcoin anymore either, right? But he's got Dogecoin. But I almost think that he's using Dogecoin just to drain money out of Bitcoin to make it crash. He's not saying anything good about Bitcoin. And it looks like Trump's buddies with Elon, because during Trump's presidency for 4 years, Elon Musk went from nothing, a nowhere man, to the richest man in the world. I think he's second richest now, but he's like neck and neck with the richest man in the world. So it looks like they're trying to downplay it, but it's funny because you got people that Trump seems like he doesn't like Warren Buffett, that seem to be on his side. And like I said before, when Trump was in office, he didn't like crypto, but the people around him in his cabinet all liked it. And the SEC secretary seemed to like it and pushed it. And it grew during that 4 years that Trump was president. So Trump doesn't seem to have hasn't manifested any propensity to get rid of crypto. Now, why would that be? Probably because of what we just said, that Bitcoin is just too big now. And even if China wants to ban it and Trump don't like it, that don't mean that cryptocurrency itself doesn't sound like a good idea to some countries, because there are a lot of countries that don't want to be under the thumb of the Federal Reserve. And if China is trying to ban it, it's only because they've got their own system they're trying to push. So this is really an all-out war. It's like musical chairs, and whoever, when it stops, we'll see who's got the chair. But it seems to me that there's one thing behind all of this that you can't deny. And that is that we know the Bible says there's going to be a one world system, and you won't be able to buy or sell without the mark. So I know that one of the systems, whatever one it is going to win in the end. Eventually, at some point, it's going to be a system that forces everybody to use that system. And that, to me, sounds like the quantum financial system. But remember, with everything, when the devil wins a little while, it doesn't mean he wins. It means he's losing, right? He just gets to win for a moment and he thinks he wins. So it could be that everybody's got all this money in their Bitcoin and it's just sitting there. And the devil might be like, no, don't do Bitcoin. Then everybody is free, and we don't want freedom. So he makes a law and he breathes fire. Oh, nobody can use that no more. How dare you? We're going to confiscate your money. And they think they win because they pass a law, right? And a paper bull, right, from the Vatican, right? Or London or the White House. And it's gospel. And if you don't do what they say, they're going to do something very bad to you. You can't buy or sell unless you use our system. Well, they've been doing that for a long time. Like, they've been doing the system where if you don't have good credit, you can't get money from the bank to buy a car. And you have to have a car to go to work. So they've already done this threats and this intimidation. And of course they've done this, remember that's why Gaddafi was taken out, because he wanted a new system, right? So this is something that people will murder and have wars over. But it's also that thing that's going to push them to their limit, because the people are not going to want to be, in this day and age, we're waking up and we want freedom. And we don't want to be told, oh, well, you can have this loan and you can have this car, but you got to pay all this interest. And if you don't pay it, taxes and all these things, it will just come in with armies and take away your property. We're sick of taxes and high interest rates when we now know that we don't have to. We don't need the banks unless some government entity comes along and says we have to have them anyway. So it seems to me like if they put their system in place and they get to a place where they think they can make an edict from, the world government or whatever, I doubt whether that's ever going to happen until after the Antichrist arises, which he may have already begun to rise. And remember this, we got 7 years if that's the case. And his last 3.5 years is this great time of tribulation. So that gives us 3.5 years. And so even if that's true, and I do believe that the whole thing's got to be done by 2030, very likely. So if that's true, I think it's probably safe to put your money, all of it, because the dollar bill is going down, no matter what. I think it's important that we put our money into something like Ethereum right now. Ethereum seems to be the one that's ICP's going to be using it too. They're going to be working together, which is this new worldwide computer that they're inventing that make everything faster. And of course, there's other companies coming along that's going to be, advocating Bitcoin, and different countries are going to be using it and stuff. And it may just be that, at least for a while, this crypto is going to continue to go up. Yes, it's at a dip right now. It's real low. That's the way it does. It goes up and it goes down and up and down. But every dip is always higher than the last dip. And right now, if you were to get in now, you're at a really low point. And you could stand to make a lot of money in the coming weeks when it goes back up. But can we then guarantee that when Trump gets back into office, if he does in August, that he won't make some executive order banning it? Well, I can't guarantee it. But I don't think that would mean that your money would be gone. It might mean that you would have to, I don't know. I can't imagine that he would make a law that says you can't pull your money out because none of the banks will allow you to get your money out or something. And then that's why people are buying their own wallets and all of that. People are scared that this could happen, and they're getting they're storing their money in their own wallet. And then what are you going to do? Try to buy things over the dark web where they don't know that you're buying and selling? I don't think that's a good idea. Now, one option is they're saying that because of all of this, silver prices are going to go way up. So there's another option that you can put everything you've got into silver. I'm now at a point. A few months ago, I was saying that, yeah, buy XRP, buy, Bitcoin, and you're going to make a lot of money. And I still think that's probably true. But I now see that there are other forces at work that might derail it at some point. And we don't know when that is or if it could happen, when or if. In the long run, my plan, what I think is the best, is to stay in crypto for now. Wait for the next big jump when it goes back up and then keeps going up, and it has a several months streak of going up. Turn your 1,000 into 10,000 and pull it out. Get you some land, buy you some dry beans, or get you a motorhome. I don't know, but get prepared, because it's very uncertain what's about to happen. I think crypto is still good. I think it's still a good idea, but nobody can see into their crystal ball as to what's about to happen. We just know that the Antichrist will eventually rise on the scene, and you won't be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast. And at that point, it doesn't matter what system they use. We're not going to be able to participate. And so the only alternative other than crypto is to keep your money in the green dollar bill. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know it, but the green, when you go to the gas pump and now gas is up, 30, 50%, it's because of inflation. So if you put it into crypto, you have a lot better chance of hanging on to the money that you have. And there's a really good possibility that you can make a lot of money in the next coming weeks and months. There is no guarantees. There's no way to beat the house when you're playing blackjack. That's all a big scam. And there's only, we got to be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. And just be aware that there are other forces out there that are competing. And eventually it looks like the quantum financial system is going to take over. And it's very odd to me that Trump is so behind that. I don't know if he knows, or if, because like I said the other day in that last video we did, and we'll finish the rest of the astrology and the other stuff that we were getting into and stuff in coming videos. But, this cabal, whatever you want to call them, they usually can orchestrate. They've been doing this for a long time. They orchestrate it and they make everybody do what they want. I don't think that Hitler was really in charge completely. I mean, he may have been in charge of his plans and stuff, but I think there were spies. I definitely believe that Aleister Crowley was a double agent for London and America. And they were doing spells to try and take Hitler out. They were sending in spies right into Hitler's own immediate advisors and his counselors. And they were advising him to do stupid things, and they were going in with spies and finding out information and doing all kinds of things to lure him and tell him, do this, do that, knowing what their move would be. and manipulating the German people and getting them to vote for somebody that would lead them into a great world war, and many of them would end up passing away. They orchestrated World War I, because we know they did that, because it ends up that World War I takes out the Ottoman Empire. And you can't have the new state of Israel that was with the Balfour Declaration that Israelites could go back to the land in 1917 without having World War I in 1914, which defeated the Ottoman Empire because the Ottoman Empire owned the land of Palestine. You had to defeat that, which is another point you never hear. You never hear because the Ottoman Empire was about 60% Sephardic Jews. If they already owned Palestine, why didn't they go to Palestine then? Because they were doing quite well in Turkey, and they had businesses, and they had their homes, and they didn't really want to go. But they could make pilgrimages, and there was peace in the land at that time. But ever since this other group of individuals, the cabal, has decided to have World War I and manipulate the world to create this for whatever reason, there's been nothing but war. And they have a plan, and they can lure people in and they can get us to make decisions that we don't really want to make. Because sometimes they give us an either-or proposition. You know, you vote for this guy who's a Republican, or you vote for this guy who's a Democrat, and they're both the same. They're same. Now, right now, we're in that situation where if we don't hope and back Donald Trump, then we have just ended the America and this republic, because we will no longer have the right to vote. We have to honor the fact that the American people voted, and that vote will stand. After that is fixed, and we have a way that we can we have representation, and we fix that, then we can vote on all of these other things. We can send senators and congressmen who represent us and change our government and make it what we want it to be. So if we start believing, if they could somehow convince us all that this is the devil's world and we have lost, and we should just stand down and take our children down to the local propagandizing center and fill their ears full of baloney because there's nothing you can do about it. Well, I don't think that's what the Apostle Peter would do, because he said, if you think that it is right to obey man rather than God, do whatever's right in your own eyes. But as for me, I must continue speaking about the things of God. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go, guys. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.